Hey there, I'm Ann Rose Hart.
And I'm Bonnie Horsburgh.
And we are so excited to be sharing a little snippet of what's happening at Embody U, the transformational event that's happening at Powder Mountain, Utah this August. And Bonnie's one of the co-presenters with me, and I'm so excited to share a little bit more about what she does in the world, just because not only is her story just a powerful testament to the transformation of the messenger, that thing that happens when we're taken over by the purpose and we're called into totally transforming our life. She's got a wonderful story, but also she's got powerful tools that I've personally benefited from. And, I just feel like they're mandatory. We can't be doing our work in the world without the practices that you share. So I'll let you share a little bit more about that in a moment, Bonnie. But before we dive in, let's just open up, kind of paint a picture of what is happening at Embody U this August, why people would want to show up and experience the techniques that you're offering and that I'm sharing and that all the others are presenting as well. What's exciting you about Embody U?
I'm so excited to have the energy of bringing people together who are really on a quest to live their purpose and their passion. And I know that, those of us who are involved in the facilitation are on that journey. And I know there's more of us. And so I feel like at the event, we're just bringing all of those people together. But what I think is unique about the event and is absolutely essential is that as, whenever we're doing purpose-driven work and doing something that we really feel passionate about and kind of braving new territory, we are going to confront fear, self-doubt, criticism from ourselves and maybe from other people or our environment. There's going to be points where we feel like we're kind of going against the flow. And going against the flow is physiologically a really stressful experience for us. And so we need to know how to nurture ourselves, manage that, and continue to move forward in a way that can allow us to be our most creative, centered selves. So knowing how to work within the body and the mind is absolutely essential in order to stay healthy doing the work that we want to do.
I love that. It just brings to mind something that I want to bring into the conversation briefly, because it's not always a conversation that we have, to really recognize what is happening when any of us are being called out of, say, the 9-to-5 job into creating a life of, say, freedom as an entrepreneur, or bringing your message into the world in your own unique way. There's a million different ways that you can do that, but it's more than just like creating your own business or sharing your message or writing your book. We think that that's the form is the point, but what it really represents is something so much more profound. And that is a stage of human development that we don't have a lot of role models for. We don't have a lot of self-actualized peers. We mostly have people in our world that are kind of socialized to the cultural norms of conforming and living within the boxes of organized institutions in some way. And so to set your own compass and chart your own course requires an entire new skill set from the inside out that is so much more than learning the skills you need on how to publish a book or write your message or get your message out there or start a business. Like, those are the how-tos. But you cannot do the how unless you have your house in order internally.
Right.
And as you named, so much of that means confronting the socialized voices that are still running up here around fear, self-doubt, self-judgment, self-criticism, which is why your work is so important. So what does that spark for you when we talk about bringing in that bigger bird's eye view of the developmental levels?
Yeah, two things will happen at Embody U that are so important. Number one is that you'll have a tribe of other women who have your back, and you will leave knowing how to have your own back. So then when it feels like you're kind of fighting your fight alone, or you're trying to find your way and you're not quite sure what's next or feeling afraid or something, you will know how to have your own back so that you can comfort yourself. You can, really stay aligned with your message and purpose and move forward. So it's like you got to have your own back, and you got to have a tribe of people around you to have your back. And with that in place, you're pretty much unstoppable.
Absolutely. It speaks to that saying, you've got to do it yourself, but you can't do it alone.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And so true. We have to do it ourselves, which means in those moments when you're in the fetal position crying at night because everything is so not working and you think you're in over your head, you have to know how to have your own back. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a moment. But also knowing you're not alone is so critical. I have not yet met a single person in any of my previous events who has dared to bare their soul and then discovered, you too, there's such power in knowing my innermost shadows and fears. I'm really not alone. And, Embody U is a place where we're going to be having those much, much deeper conversations about the real interior complexities of your experience that, we're in this together.
You bet.
Oh, I'd love for you to share, Bonnie, how was it that you came to discover how to have your own back? It was such an interesting experience. I think people can relate to it in some way to what brought you to this place of sharing your message.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a therapist in my day job. I'm a clinical social worker, and I had been doing a particular type of work that was really, really meaningful to me, and but was very emotionally taxing. And it was a lot of real deep trauma work. And I did that for a period of years. And then with just kind of the ups and downs of life and, the things that we confront day to day, what ended up happening several years ago, I just started having kind of random, seemingly, unconnected symptoms pop up. And I was having a lot of autoimmune type things, a lot of inflammation and things like that. It was migraine headaches. It was a bladder condition. It was a bronchial condition. It was kind of like asthma, all sorts of things. I was wheezing. All sorts of stuff was going on. But what really got my attention, what finally got my attention, was when I broke out in hives, most of which are about the size of saucers, all over my body. I'd never had an allergy in my life. And suddenly, one summer, I became allergic to almost everything I put in my mouth. I couldn't eat hardly anything without breaking out in full body hives. My lips swelled up, my eyes swelled closed, and this lasted for about 6 months. And I had a lot of, I visited a lot of different doctors, a lot of different practitioners, and there really was nothing conclusive. I just had all of these weird, disconnected symptoms that were manifesting kind of what felt like out of nowhere.
Right.
And I had an experience. I was taking mindfulness-based stress reduction right when I started to get sick, and or get really sick. And I had the experience of figuring out one night how to sit with really, really deep itch that couldn't be scratched. It was just deep, deep itching. And I started using mindfulness to get myself through the discomfort that I was experiencing so that I could rest, so that I could work during the day. And my mindfulness practice really became very personal at that point. I had been incorporating mindfulness into my therapy for a while, but at that point it was like, nope, this is no longer a luxury or a good idea. It's a survival skill. And so I started really practicing mindfulness. And what I came to realize was that it wasn't just sitting with physical discomfort. I realized that the tapes that I was running through my head, that program opened me up to an awareness of the things that I believed about myself, or that I told myself during moments of distress, or when I felt like I made a mistake or something like that, were absolutely toxic. And I came to realize that, I could take all the supplements that I had been recommended, and do what I could do for my body. But if I was continuing to constantly activate my threat protection system by beating myself up through my mind, the way I wasn't going to get better. And so I realized that that this journey back to wellness was a completely holistic deal. I had to address my emotions, my inner dialogue, my thinking, my physiology, and really like my spirit. What is it that number one, what does this all mean? We humans are meaning making machines, and I wasn't going to just settle with the idea that this just meant that I needed to take a few supplements and take a few deep breaths. Like I really was feeling throughout that like something is happening to me that I don't think is unique to me. The story is kind of intense, but I don't think it was unique. So many people are dealing with stress-related illnesses, and so I really felt coming out of this this illness, this phase in my life, that this is something that everybody needs to know. And so that became really a passion for me, to teach stress resilience and mindfulness, and then later self-compassion, as I learned about how powerful those negative and self-critical thoughts are when it comes to driving our nervous system and our stress response. It's devastating on our physiology.
It absolutely is. And, one of the things I appreciate about what you just shared was that moment in which you realized you had to be with that intensity of what you euphemistically call discomfort. I love that. Discomfort. I just got eaten alive by bugs on retreat in St. Lucia last week, and I was thinking of you like discomfort. God, hives like that itch like crazy. That's more than discomfort. And so what you're speaking to is to be with that intensity of energy, basically, which can have a physical form, but it also can have a really insidious emotional and mental form that we take for granted because it's running all the time, so we don't notice it, right? But that piece that you just named of not turning outside of yourself to look to a supplement, or I'm sure that you did go to and look outside yourself, but you came to a really powerful flip, which was I have to go inward instead of outward.
That's right.
And I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, because I think you had told me that you were taking good care of yourself by traditional self-care measures prior to getting sick. So this was not like you just abandoning self-care. Just speak to that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, it was interesting. If I went to, when you go to your doctor for your regular physical or something, and they ask you, you kind of do the checklist, like, do you drink a lot of water? Yep, I sure do. Do you eat, calcium? Yep. Do you eat vegetables and fruits? You bet. Do you exercise? Yes, like a fiend. Like I was checking all of these things off, and just looking at my chart, I should have been in excellent health, and yet my body was throwing all sorts of red flags that something was not right. And so what the process invited me to do was, when I stopped resisting it, because initially I went into resistance, like I have got to make this go away. Like I would stay up for hours at night on WebMD, or whatever, trying to figure out, how do I make this go away? And that was a critical point when I had to stop resisting what was happening, to allow myself to be with what was happening, as uncomfortable and scary as it was, to kind of let go of the idea that I needed to know when this was going to end so I could tolerate it, and just say, this is what is. And there's something here that I need to know. And maybe what I needed to know was just, how do I sit with this itch and get to sleep tonight? How do I do that? How can I nurture myself through that process? I just couldn't control it. And so I had to let go of that control, let go of that resistance, and just go within and allow myself to go through. Right. And so self-care took on a totally different flavor than I had ever known before. Because if I'd been truly listening to my body, I wouldn't have been doing the type of intense exercise that I had been doing before. I wouldn't have been working 55 hours a week. I wouldn't have been doing all of these things that I thought I needed to do. I wasn't listening. And I learned to listen to my body, and to become curious about my thoughts rather than just having them and reacting to them. And that changed everything.
That's so huge. And I
Mhm.
think it's particularly relevant in this day and age where, you were kind of the poster child for a successful professional,
Mhm.
where you're the woman who's making smoothies, going to the gym, doing yoga, training for a long distance bicycling ride. Like, you're fit, you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of others, you're working, you're making good money. Like,
Yeah.
on the surface, you have it all together. And this is what I feel like right now in human history, or at least in our society, life is conspiring to crack open the bullshit that is. Because we can only get so far with our kind of external appearance and measurements. And until we learn to bring that level of care and value to our interior experience, we have a glass ceiling on what we can really achieve with our lives that's purposeful. And so much of the gift of what you're doing, and then of course what we're doing at Embody U, is this is the place that values the interior experience.
Mm.
Because what we're all in the business of is going beyond the conventional levels of success to what does it mean to craft that life of purpose and meaning, which means you have to open yourself up to be a bigger vessel for life. Spirit wants to live through each and every one of us, which means where have I been pinching off my life? I got to create more space. I got to create more space. And as you just beautifully articulated, that means we can't push anything away. We have to learn how to include more in our experience, which means making friends with not only hives and itching and discomfort and weird symptoms, but also the terror, the fear, the frustration, all of the emotional challenges that we face on bringing our unique gifts into the world. Like, that's intense energy. And unless we have powerful skills to know how to be with intense energies of our own making, we're completely ineffective. So
Absolutely. Yeah, we're pain avoidant by nature, right? I mean, if the stove is hot, we don't touch it. And so if you're doing purpose-driven work, if there's a party that's really feeling compelled to do something, but it's at the edge of your comfort zone, you are going to confront fear. You are going to confront discomfort. And by nature, we kind of hit that point, and then eventually we'll recoil, kind of step back and or try to find a way around it. It's ineffective. And so having the skill set to be able to manage our own stress response, know that we have our own backs, cultivate that really compassionate, motivating relationship, healthy, motivating relationship with ourselves, and then have a tribe of people who can be there with us to remind us, and support one another on that journey is essential so you can break through that comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it just brings to mind the whole deeper question of why do you want to push through your comfort zone? Why? Because that's when most people are like, oh, never mind, I don't want to feel discomfort, thank you very much, I don't even want to learn tools. But the beautiful thing is, those of us who are gathering at Embody U are the ones that feel that this is now in human history, in our society. Your message is needed, my message is needed, all of us. We can't say no. It's a choiceless choice. Like, we would like to think we have an option of taking the blue pill and going back to work, but sorry, your soul is demanding that you move forward through the discomfort. And so this is the place where we're going to really teach some powerful tools. Would you be willing, Bonnie, to share just really briefly a short exercise we could get a sampling of, just one kind of bite-sized chunk, the tip of the iceberg, two metaphors, of what we can experience with some of your practices?
Yeah. So this practice is from the Mindful Self-Compassion program, of which I'm a teacher in training. And the premise of this practice is that one of the best ways to drop ourselves out of the realm of overwhelmed, stressed, hurting, in pain, is to receive comfort. We think about, like, it's like getting a hug from a good friend, or, just kind of having that soft landing and receiving comfort. And we don't actually need another person to be available for us in order to be able to do that. So this is one of the quickest, most efficient ways to activate our relaxation response, find our way into kind of our calm center. And from that opens up our curiosity again and our creativity. And we feel like we can kind of continue to move forward. So I'd love to share this exercise with you. So there's a couple ways to activate that caregiving response within ourselves, and it's the same way we activate it with like a child, which is basically soothing touch, physical touch, and then just really soothing, gentle vocalizations. Okay, so we can do that. You can do that within your own mind. But what I'm going to invite you to do, I'd love to just walk you through a real quick meditation practice. So I invite you to close your eyes, and I'll close mine as well. And just take a moment here to find your breath in your body. Just kind of notice that nurturing breath flowing in. And notice how the body is soothed on the exhalation. Kind of letting that breath nurture you on the in-breath and soothe you on the out-breath. Just feeling that gentle rhythm. And now I'm going to guide you through, I'm just going to invite you to try a couple things to see how this lands for you. And the first thing that I invite you to do is to just take an open hand and place it over the area of your heart on your chest. And just really feel into that warm, gentle pressure of the hand over the heart. Just breathing, just offering that gentle, supportive touch right over the heart. And maybe in your mind, kind of bringing to mind the phrase, this one too. This one matters too. This beating heart, this life, this one is deserving of compassion and kindness. This one too. And then I invite you to play with some other touch as well. So you can place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Just see how that feels. Our body receives pressure on the front here, oftentimes like a hug. And just because it works for one person doesn't mean it works for all. So just see how you respond to this. This is really personal. Again, just allowing that phrase to really gently kind of roll through your mind and through your heart. This one too. You can even try placing one or both hands on the side of your face, just kind of a gentle holding of the face. You can try the hand, cupping one side of the face and gently tilting the head. And again, with that gentle vocalization inside, this one too. If you'd like, you can return a hand to your heart, and actually just try two hands maybe, just two hands right over the heart center. And again, just allowing that breath to really gently and softly move in and out, feeling that gentle, supportive pressure over the heart. This one too. Deserving of care, concern, and compassion. This heart, this life, this one too. And then when you're ready, you can allow your hands to fall to your lap or your sides again. Just gently open your eyes. That practice is really an antidote to a moment of fear, a moment of feeling overwhelmed. It can really quickly causes the brain to increase production of oxytocin, we feel soothed. And when we feel soothed and we feel safe, then we again move forward towards what feels meaningful to us. So it's really a way to help you drop into safety again when we feel like we're on the edge of something that we feel afraid of. And for visionaries, for change makers, for people who are really willing to step out there and do something that's kind of going against the grain, you're going to confront those moments over and over and over again. So this is just one really quick, tiny practice that you can kind of tuck in your back pocket to just remember, okay, hang on, Bonnie. Yeah, this one too.
Yeah.
Whatever you need.
Thank you so much for that, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
That's a practice that I use countless times. I'm sure you have too. Because as you said, this journey of self-actualizing and bringing forth my deepest message, I'll speak in the I, you're completely ineffective. I just said I was going to use the I, and I went back to you. That's funny. We're
all in this together.
That I'm completely ineffective unless I'm willing to feel everything. And over the years, my practice has been to feel everything, and it's very intense often. And there's grief, and there's sadness, and there's fear, and there's frustration. And without this capacity to self-soothe, number one, it goes on longer than it needs to. Number two, it just keeps the body in this stressed out state. And this is such a power tool. Oxytocin on, oxytocin.
Yes. Yeah.
I just love it. I love it. It seems ridiculously simple. Some of you probably are familiar with this, but if this is new for you, you're like, yeah, right. What? That's it? But there's so much more there that we can unpack, and we're not going to go into that today. But this ability to take responsibility for my own experience and my own body and my own emotions it's the gateway to everything that we're looking for. So
mm-hmm.
for that. Yeah. I'm curious, what have been a couple moments in your experience when just that self-touch, soothing practice and breath has helped you restore your center just within your own experience? I know you use it with clients as well, but when have you found it most useful?
Oh, you bet. One of the things that I was tasked with doing in the past year was really figuring out where I wanted to devote my time and energy as far as my professional work. And because I'm balancing a lot of things and really trying to get in alignment with like what feels most meaningful for me to devote my time and energy to. And be careful what you ask, I want to know, and then I get the answer and I'm like, not that, it was scary. I was tasked with making scary changes that I did not foresee myself making at that point. And so this was something that I did a lot. I do it a lot to actually just throughout my day, throughout whatever. It has just become a really natural gesture for me to soothe myself. And so I did a lot of hand over my heart. I did a lot of deep breathing, and I did a lot of just knowing, Bonnie, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Just take the next best step. Like that's my internal dialogue. And that has it's not always, I catch my inner critic coming in plenty, but I know how to access that. And now, that positive self-talk, that soothing, and that soothing touch. And it's starting to become quite natural, and so that to me is just so it's profound. It's profound. It's had a profound impact in my life. But boy, this last year when I was confronted with making some really scary changes, I was so grateful for this practice and for what I've learned about how to be compassionate toward myself, because it gave me the courage and the motivation to keep going forward. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that I did. On the other side of it now, I'm so grateful that I did. But at the time, it was just so scary. So.
Absolutely. What it brought to mind for me was I'm currently not in a relationship. I haven't been married for several years since I kind of started my path of purpose. being launched from divorce. And so there's the basic human need for affection and soothing touch, and it's going to be okay. And there's kind of a way in which the mind sometimes goes, oh, I want a hug, and I live by myself, I have my son, but to be able to meet my own needs with these basic soothing gestures and say, okay, what my being is actually calling for is needing some oxytocin, some restoration of the biochemistry of some touch, trust, I should say, some reassurance. I too have developed the habit over the years of hand on heart and gut, just, I guess, out of time. It just creates a practice. But it goes back to what we were saying earlier about that big shift from being externally focused, like I need somebody out there to meet my needs, is inherently can be a very disempowering state. Not to say we have to live in silos, but the ways in which we want to blame others for our lack of feeling good. Like, sorry, buck stops here. Get your hand on your heart right now. Take responsibility for your own emotions. You got this. You got this.
Yes.
And that's the piece that's so essential for us to restore trust in ourselves, to say, I don't actually need somebody to meet all of my needs. They weren't there for me in the way that I needed. That just perpetuates this victimhood mentality that doesn't help us at all. So it's so simple, but man, it's a game changer. So thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Good. All right. Well, let's see. That's, our 2-second practice. Thank you. It was more than 2 seconds, but we're going to be spending 3.5 days at Embody U at Powder Mountain, not only bringing our awareness to kind of crafting the vessel that spirit can flow through with practices that address mind, physiology, psychology, the biochemistry, the neurology, the relational and communication. I'm putting at my voice for my throat because it's voice, all of these facets of how can your vessel most effectively embody and express your purpose up until you have really mastered the art of tending to your vessel. Everything else is a how-to skill that is on a different plane of learning. It's important, but you're not going to be as effective until you've mastered these skills. So I'm so excited to invite you to join us at Embody U. It's embodyyouevent.com. And what we'd love to do, this is a tribe of 100 purposeful women that are gathering because not just as your soul calling you forward into greater purpose, but because the world is demanding it, now is the time, and there's stuff happening that you are part of the change that is being required of you to make. And it's not easy. So what we'd love to do is just get to know you and have conversation with you. So when you go to Embody U event, there's a place where you can click there to get started, and that'll just let you start the conversation so we can get to know you, you can get to know us, and start building our tribe well before August so that we can let you know what else we've got on the radar for kind of pre-event gatherings online, as well as just feeling the beautiful energy that you're bringing and how you fit into the tribe and how the tribe can best support you. So join us at embodyyouevent.com. And any other final thoughts to feel complete today, Bonnie?
No, just this feels like the most important work in the world, and I'm so excited to connect with these 100 women who come together who are living their soul purpose.
Yeah. I know the group that's already gathered, and if you're feeling a kind of inner pull, just trust that, because this is one of those things where the group that's already gathered has got some momentum, and one by one there's more and more of us coming together, and it's almost like this feeling of a reunion of a soul family in a way, where we've maybe done this before. I don't know if that sounds too out there, but there's work that we are here to do in this lifetime on the planet right now that in your soul, like, ding, it's my time. This is my tribe. And these are the conversations I want to be having with this type of group in this type of environment where we're not just in a hotel ballroom taking notes, we're not just learning the how-to skills, and we're not looking to experts to give us presentations and sales pitches on how to do something. This is the inner game of being held in community, in sacred community, for the birthing of your soul. And it's really unique. And we're doing this out in nature. I mean, we'll be indoors. We have yurts. We also have beautiful lodges at Powder Mountain. But we're in this mountain campus with 10,000 acres for you to go bicycling on your mountain bikes. We've got mountain bikes provided. You can go hiking. You can go wandering. You can engage in community as much as you desire, and have solo free time to integrate and just reconnect with what's really emerging for you. So it's this beautiful combination of structured, directed, community building time for transformation, as well as unstructured time to just go play. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So looking forward to meeting you. Thanks so much for watching today, and we will see you in August at Powder Mountain. Thanks, everyone.